witnessed the burning of these Protestant heretics who have denied the authority of the one true Catholic Church and of His Holiness the Pope. Let them burn for all eternity in the flames of hell.
Christian love. There's a quote going around the internet, posted, I expect, by atheists. There's no hate like Christian love. And I suppose if you look back at the history of Christianity and the general way that Christians have behaved to non-Christians and even towards themselves, that would probably seem to be, fairly accurate. So what did Jesus actually say about love as such? So in Matthew 5, verse 43 to 45, he says, love your neighbour and hate. It's been said, love your neighbour and hate your enemy, but I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. He's also said, thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. Now, I wonder whether loving your enemy is good advice. It seems to me that Christianity, or at least Jesus, is actually placing too much a burden on people. How is it possible to love your enemies, pray for those who are persecuting you? And how is it possible to keep those high standards indiscriminately? Speaking from a personal point of view, I would find it very, very difficult to love any of my neighbours, frankly. Some of them are probably a bit more worthy of love than others, but in my world, love is quite a special thing, and it's reserved for people who are close to me. My family, obviously, very close friends. My attitude to human beings in general, by default, unless they give me reason otherwise, is one of goodwill. So I see people walking around, I've got acquaintances, business colleagues, etc. My general feeling towards them is not one of love. My general feeling is one of goodwill, wanting people to be happy, wanting people to do well in life. The only time I withdraw that goodwill is if I see that their standards have fallen short. They are themselves not behaving in such a way as would merit my goodwill. So, for example, if I know somebody and I've got goodwill towards him, if I find out that he's beating his wife, well, I would have to withdraw my goodwill towards him because I would not feel that he was worthy of it. And that's more or less how I operate. So I've got love for the people close to me, but outside of that, I've got goodwill unless somebody gives me a reason not to have goodwill towards them. Now, there are people that I don't know that I've actively got bad will for. For example, President Putin. I've actively got bad will towards President Putin because of what I perceive that he's doing in Ukraine, because of all the people that he's been implicated in murdering, etc. And I've got bad will towards him to the extent that I would probably have a glass of wine if I learned tomorrow that he'd been assassinated. I would think that that would probably be quite a good thing. So I would consider Putin to be my enemy in that sense, that I would like to see him removed and out of the way, even if that means him being killed. So I don't really see that loving my enemy in that sense. I'm so far away from loving my enemies that, and I don't really necessarily see that that's a bad thing. If we unconditionally loved our enemies, where does that end? For example, in the Second World War, we had Hitler. If we'd loved our enemy, we would not have resisted him, and we would have been conquered and been subjugated and living in a completely totalitarian state. I think that loving your enemies is not really good advice. Loving your neighbour, I think that that's placing too high a burden on people. You can't conjure up inside yourself love for somebody that you don't feel an inclination to love. I would think that that's as true for Christians as it is for non-Christians. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, and as long as you've got goodwill for people, there's no need to love them. And neither do I particularly, I mean, speaking personally, neither do I particularly want Christian love. I don't want, I like people to respect my space. I don't want and I don't need Christian love. So, if some Christians came up to me on the street and they said, Jesus loves you, and, by the way, we love you too, my response would be, well, thanks, but I don't need your love. You don't know me. How can you love me? So that might sound a bit antagonistic, but I believe that from what I've seen and what I know about human nature, when a Christian says, oh, I love my enemies, I love my neighbor, I love everybody, I love the world, I don't believe it. It's all very well saying the words, but to feel it is another thing. I think that it's just simply shamming love and just paying lip service to what are some well-meant but really unrealistic rules that Jesus formulated for people to live by. It may well be that his advice at that particular time was for those particular people, because he saw a lot of antagonism between different factions, and he might have been trying to encourage peace between the Jews and the different factions within Jewish society. But in terms of universal love, in universal Christian love, no, I don't believe in it. And we've seen throughout history, and some of the clips that I showed at the beginning, that there's probably been more violence and hate perpetrated through Christianity than any other religion, including Islam perhaps. If you count the Crusades and everything over the centuries, all the thousands of witches that were drowned, etc., and even the hatred that we've got going on today in this world, where, for example, the fundamentalist Christian family has got maybe a relative who wants to come out as an atheist, comes out, maybe it's a child, one of the offspring has come of age, says, oh look, mum and dad, I don't really believe anymore, but I still love you. Well, in that case, never darken this doorstep again. If you've given up on God, you've given up on us. So we've still got hate. We've still got Christians hating on each other and hating on non-Christians, particularly in the way that they try to impose their beliefs, through abortion laws, etc., contraception, hatred, homophobia, LGBT, etc. We still see a lot of hate coming from Christianity, even though we may have left behind the days of the witch hunts and the burning at the stake, etc. The hate is still very much strong in Christianity today. So I reject the notion of universal love. Love is something which is special, and for me, the more abundant it is in terms of the more people you love, the sort of less special it is. So it's just for my sort of friends and family, and then I've got goodwill towards all other human beings, unless they prove to me that they're not worthy of it. And I've got active bad will towards people that, in my view, are a force for evil on this planet. In other words, I either wish they could be caught and locked up, or in the worst cases, I wish them dead, like, Putin or other dictators who've committed evils. Some of you may be shocked at that, but of course, if I had lived at the time of the Second World War, I'm sure that a lot of people were wishing that Hitler was dead. It's just, it's just quite a common emotion, or quite a common response to that kind of situation, or that kind of personality, somebody who's wreaking havoc and causing misery or death to others. You would also wish that they were dead. Forgiveness is one that Jesus has said, forgive not 7 times, but forgive 77 times. Or in other words, forgive unconditionally no matter what. That's another one which is down to the individual. I've got people in my life that for certain things, you can say, oh, I forgive. Not forgiving is hurting me, it's destroying me, so I'm going to forgive. Well, that's a kind of rational point of view, but whether you really feel it, whether somebody who's had their child raped and killed can really feel forgiveness for the person that's done it is obviously up to them. They could try and focus on that so as not to let themselves become a victim a second time. I can see that point of view, but on the other hand, the people that have done me wrong in my life, I've got no problem not forgiving them. It's not something that eats me up. It's a little bit of resentment that sits inside me. And as a human experience, I just learn to live with it. I'm not going to go down the road of saying, I forgive everybody for all sins. I don't think that everybody deserves to be forgiven. It depends on the sin. It depends on whether people feel sorry. So unconditional forgiveness, no. So I reject universal Christian love. I reject unconditional forgiveness. That's my position. What else to say? This thing about loving your enemies. I think that's about it, really. It's another one of those crooked things about Christianity and dishonest things which make the religion so bad. And one of the reasons why I keep coming on making these videos, I know that I've got 99% atheist viewers, but you never know, there might be one Christian that will come on here and say, oh, actually, Stuart, I never thought about it like that. Maybe you're right. Maybe this Christian love is a sham and Christianity is a false religion. That may be the case, or it may just be something that you atheists out there hearing me talk about it helps you to sort of review it in your mind and what your opinion is on these issues. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back again with another video soon. Bye for now.